If you saw my last video, you would have seen me play around with Logic and the Billie Eilish track and how far we could push it. Now, towards the end of the video, I showed that the buffer size was actually on the lowest setting, and I just changed the buffer size, but I actually made a mistake. Now, when we played the track, we've actually got 672 tracks and 2,512 plugins, which again, I'm going to say the word, is insane. But I forgot to do something, and this is something that I'm not used to because I'm not used to playing around with multiple cores. Now, if you've seen that video, what happened was when we got to 16 times, every track is times by 16, so we've got 16 versions of everything. It played the verse, and then on the chorus, it crashed. But what I want to show you is the settings within Logic and how we can change this and actually make it play. So for this example, I'm going to click the CPU, and we've got the performance meter. And at the same time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the meter for the CPU as well for the whole system. So as I hit play, you'll see straight away the performance meter goes mental, and obviously the cores kick in because they're actually thinking about what to process. Now, as we get into the vocal textures and we get into the verses, you can see there, again, the performance meter went up, and then it brings itself back down. Now it's got that sorted, but as you start going into the chorus, all of these are about to become active, and then basically it stops. Here we go. So we get system overload, and that's okay. It says you can try increasing the I/O buffer size, change the multi-thread option, Logic Pro, preferences, audio devices. Let's go into Logic Pro, let's go into preferences, and let's go into audio. Now what I did straight away is I went to the I/O buffer size and just maxed it out at 1024. So let's do that anyway. But the thing that I actually forgot about was also this, and this is processing threads. It's on automatic and it's recommended. But what we can do is we can actually tell it how many cores to play with. So we can actually say, go for the full 10, 8 high performance cores and then the 2 efficiency cores. And the other part is the processing buffer range is on small. And what we need to do is put that on large. So what I'm going to do now is the rest of them, the multi-threading, we can have it on playback tracks and playback on live tracks. I'm just going to leave it as playback and live tracks. And then we've got the summing precision at 64. You could put it standard at 32, but I'm going to leave it at 64 for now. And then we're going to click apply. This is going to make the appropriate changes to the audio engine. And for now, I'm just using the core audio. I've not plugged into the audio interface at all. We're just using the speakers of the Mac. And as you can notice, we're completely unplugged. So once it's initialized that audio, we can get out of there. So we're now at the beginning of the track. I'm going to keep the performance meter up, and I'm also going to keep the disc utility meter up as well. Let's see if this works. Also, just a point of reference, while we're doing this, there's a little bit of CPU going on because at the same time, we're also screen recording as well. So let's see if it plays. Now, straight away, the performance meter didn't shoot up to 100%. It's sitting there just under 50, maybe 40%. Have a look at the disc utility meter as well. It's a lot more even. So when we get into the verse, we're now on about 50%. A little bit of a shoot there to 75 as we get the kick drum kicking in. Just before the chorus kicks in, it's where it really, really stopped. Here we go. We're still playing. Excellent. Now it's showing 100% on performance meter, but the actual GPU meter on the actual whole system, it's got a little bit of give, it's got a little bit left on it. The drive I/O is kicking in now. Now verse 2 actually isn't as intensive as chorus 1, so it should play okay. Let's see what happens on chorus 2. Oh, okay. All right, so we did get system overload there. Okay, so what we'll do is let's just play it again, just wind it back just a little bit and just see if we can get it past chorus 2. Second attempt. I don't know what the difference was there. I think maybe because I stopped it and then played it again. it's playing it. If you remember on the previous video when we tried it a second time, it just failed straight away. It was not even having it. Cool. Everything from this point onwards is actually not using as much. So a lot less than the chorus 1 and 2. The chorus 1 and 2 take up the most amount. It's not got everything playing at once, but it's got the most going on at the same time. So yeah, we can actually get it to play. It only sort of crashed on the second chorus, and I think that's because there's a bit of an overlap between the stuff that's on verse 2 and chorus. So a lot's going on there. But the main thing is, we got it to play. So I just want to go into the actual mixer and show you all the effects. So let's click X, which gives you the mixer, and let's just go for the very, very first track. There we go. So we've got here 1, which is an EQ, we've got a compressor, we've got a space, we've got a delay, we've got console EQ, and another compressor as well. That's fine. But then also what I would say is some of these things you could actually group together and bus it. Now there are some buses on this track, so let's go all the way to the other end. And there are a couple of buses there. There's 5 buses and they're all space delays, but you could potentially space delay a couple of other things. Maybe you could EQ group them. Depends on what you're doing with it. So there's EQ for each individual vocal there for the verse. And then you've also got track stack, which is pretty much the first thing you hear, which are the vocal textures. So the vocal textures are the harmonies, and there's 12 in each. So if we have a look at this, let me just click that and then go to X, we can see where it is there. Now each stack actually has an EQ on it as well, and the console there. But also each one has effects built into each track as well. So you could group them, you could make it less if you wanted to, depends. This is overkill, and there are gates on every single one, and that's fine. I think it looks like it was copied and duplicated for each take. But because of the power of this, we don't need to actually go, do you know what, let's take these out, let's take this out. It will do it, and it will actually process it. Speaking of processing it, one thing I didn't do is actually bounce the track. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce the 16 times version and see how long it takes. Now this isn't something that most musicians or audio engineers worry about. They just hit bounce and they just let it do its thing. It's more for people who do video editing. Obviously time is money when it comes to rendering. But let me just show you what we can do. So we're going to click Command B, and that will actually click for bounce. We're going to do PCM, which is lossless. I'm going to go AIFF. I'm going to actually go 24-bit. I'm actually going to go over from 44.1 to 88.2. That's double the sample rate, just because I want to push it a little bit. But also, if you're going to go into mastering, you want that high quality, and maybe you could drop it back down to 44.1 in mastering. Interleaved is what we want. We want it as a stereo mix. We don't want it split into its separate tracks. And we're not going to put any dithering on because we don't want to actually degrade it in any way, shape or form. Now the normalizing is on. I'm actually going to turn that off, and we're going to include the audio trail as well. So what we're going to do is, it says it's going to require 114.1 megabytes of free disk space. That's fine, and it's 3 minutes 33 seconds. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to save it as Billy times 16, just to put it there, and we'll put it in bounces. And when I click bounce, I'm also going to click start on my stopwatch, and we'll see how long it takes. Look at the performance meters, they're going mental. So we're at 15 seconds, and it's already done 38 seconds of that already. So we're at 1 minute now, and it's 1 minute 37 that it's done. 39, 40. The performance meters, of course, are going mental, and the drive I/O is obviously kicking in to make the track.
I'll tell you one thing, I can't hear the fan, and this is a really stupid position for me to be in, but, ooh, I can hear it. It's just kicked in now.
There we go. I've heard the fan for the very first time ever since playing with this for a week. And now the drive I/O is at 100%, and I've never seen that before, so that's obviously why the fan's kicking in. There we go. Cool. Okay. And just as quickly as the fans have spun up, they've stopped. They've actually spun down again now. Yeah, on the way down, I can hear. So, let's just have a quick look at this. So there you go. I don't know if you can see that, but that is 2 minutes 34 for a track that is 3 minutes 33. So a 3 minute 33 track with 600 and whatever it is, 672 tracks, 2,512 plugins. 3 minutes 33 is the total. It did it in 2 minutes and 34 seconds. It's I couldn't even do this on my old iMac, which used to sit here. Bless it, it's gone now. My dad's using it. But the other thing as well is the battery was 100% this morning when we started recording. We're now on 94%. And that's all the playing we've just done. That was me messing with it a little bit this morning before I hit record to show you guys. And yeah, it's actually just sitting there. It's taken a total of 6% in about an hour. So I hope that helps, and obviously showing you what I've put it on the largest buffer size, the largest I/O size, and more importantly, having the processing threads not recommended, but on the highest possible. And this is a 10-core machine. We're going to be doing more on Logic, so if you have found this useful, then give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.